It is more honorable to be raised to a throne than to be born to one. Fortune bestows to one, merit obtains the other. Those were the words pronounced by the Italian scholar and poet Francesco Petrarca. The throne is a universal concept, in different cultures and in different fields. However, unlike in an administration where the hierarchy is clear, in the music industry, things can get a bit blurry. It is common for some artists to be considered king or queens of their genre, even when there's still a lack of unanimity. While some of the pretenders to the throne may feel like they need to let their achievements speak for themselves, others might not feel like it is enough and might want to set the record straight. The Jamaican DJ Beenie Man belongs to the latter category. He will be used as a central figure for this video, a video in which I will dig deeper into the culture of aliases and nicknames on the dancehall scene, how the aliases are representative of the quest for authority, and finally, why sometimes an artist has no choice but to set the record straight about their accomplishment. Hello, welcome to the Botengu channel. How can I describe my content? Well, when I'm not making videos about music theory or of myself playing, I am using this channel as a way to reflect on what makes black musical cultures similar and also what makes each of them unique. Do not hesitate to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more. Beenie Man, or Anthony Moses Davis, was born in 1973 in Kingston. He was born in a musical environment as his uncle was the drummer of artist Jimmy Cliff. He began toasting quite early and says that as a kid, who stammered a lot, singing and toasting helped him articulate his thoughts and improve his speech. His skills did not go unnoticed, and he finished runner-up of the Tasty Talent Contest in Jamaica in the late 70s. He lost to the one and only Yellow Man, now renowned as a dancehall legend. He was around 6, while Yellow Man was about 18 years old. But that did not discourage Anthony, and he ran again and won the contest in 1981. That further helped his credibility, and he was able to release the album The Invincible Beenie Man, the 10-year-old DJ wonder. Throughout the 80s, he can be seen DJing in different sound systems. What is surprising about Beenie Man is how early his career started. He mentioned that this is what owed him the moniker Beenie Man, which can mean small man. In other words, the mind of a grown adult in the body of a child. Even though there were some rumors that he had his nickname because he was a premature at his birth. Nicknames are prevalent in black communities across the globe. I have classified them into 3 types. The first type is the descriptive aliases. Yellow Man, the DJ Beenie Man lost to, says that he was nicknamed Yellow Man because he liked to wear yellow clothing when he was younger. But it is publicly assumed that his nickname also refers to his albinism. This happens in other genera. The rapper Snoop Dogg was given his nickname because he looked like a dog, while Puff Daddy, now known as Diddy, was given his nickname because he used to puff his chest when he was younger. When it comes to the ever-growing list of rappers with monikers, prefixes, Lils, a lot of them were given those nicknames when they were younger because they were small, and they have stuck with that moniker ever since. The thing is, real names are often common and don't highlight the uniqueness and the specificity of a human being, and they cannot because they were given to you at birth. The names given to you as those descriptive nicknames are more than just teasing and playful names. They are there to highlight somebody's importance by putting an emphasis on his or her uniqueness. For example, when there were a lot of people named Michael in the neighborhood, some would be called Big Mike, while others would be called Little Mike based on their size. However, that is not the only way nicknames are given. Nicknames can be chosen by a person as a way of expressing something or someone that that person wants to be. It can, for example, contain a title. To be more specific, a lot of famous DJs in the 80s and in the 90s on the dancehall scene had names such as Lieutenant, Admiral, General, and other titles linked to authority. For example, we have Bunny General, General Degree, Ricky General, Admiral Bailey, Admiral Tibbet, Brigadier Jerry, and Lieutenant Sichi. Ranking or ranks is also a title that shows status. The example include the stars Shaba Ranks, Cutty Ranks, and Louis Rankin. We can also consider the female side of things. Many female dancehall artists use the prefix lady, which is a royal title in the British Isles. Examples include Lady G, Lady Anne, Lady Patra, and Lady Saw. There is a trend for authority titles as part of the nicknames in other musical cultures, and author Bob White has written about it in his book Rumba Rules, The Politics of Dance in Mobutu's Zaire. The author quotes another author, Achille Mbembe, who said that the subject of the common men have internalized authoritarian epistemology to the point where they reproduce it themselves in all minor circumstances of daily life. In the time of the rule of Mobutu, there were two figures of authority: the people in the administration, and ultimately the president and traditional chiefs who had more symbolic powers. In an effort to maintain traditions alive, while strengthening his power, Mobutu dropped his European name and adopted the traditional name Koku Bendu Wazabanga Seseseko, which translated to something like the eternal invincible chief. Artists, especially the ones who grew up during his reign, have used similar titles in their monikers. Jibem Piana, for example, has his nickname Maréchal, inspired by the president. Kofi Olomide calls himself Mopa or Mokunzi, which means something like the reigning boss. And Papa Wemba has even gone as far as creating his own village named Molokai and was enthroned as a customary chief. The figures of authority might not be the same in Jamaica, but the trend is similar. Although there's an appearance of democracy with the two historical parties, polarization of politics has divided the country into multiple political sections called garrisons, which are under the authoritarian leadership of one person called a Don. People seen as figures of authority are thus the Dons or people from the army, which explains the prefixes such as lieutenant, admiral, etc. The famous dancehall artist Supercat called himself Don Dada, meaning the highest of Dons. Once again, parallels can be drawn to rap, where the rapper 50 Cent, for example, got his name from a local gangster, while rapper Rick Ross got his name from the used drug dealer, Freeway Ricky Ross, who went on to sue the rapper. Figures of authority can also work in the same industry, and they can be your idol. In an interview, the DJ Shaka Demus, co-author of the famous hit Murder, She Wrote, recalls getting his nickname from the legendary dancehall artist Nicodemus, after having seen the effect that Nicodemus had on the crowd. The artist Junior Demus was also nicknamed after the same man. The artist Junior Cat has similarly been named after his big brother Super Cat. When artists take names from their mentors or predecessors, they also tend to inherit certain characteristics, as it is the case for artists Buju Benton and Mega Benton, who both have taken their rough vocals and forceful delivery style from the same men named Buru Bantan. And some followers tend to become influencers as well. The dancehall DJ Adi Benton got his name from Buju Benton. He later on changed his name to Vibes Cartel. Others get their name from movies and movie actors. The DJ Joseph Winston Sterling went to become Josie Wells, naming himself after the famous movie character, the outlaw Josie Wells, played by Clint Eastwood. And his sound partner, Richard Patrick Bennett, went for the name Charlie Chaplin after the legendary actor. Rodney Price, an upcoming artist in the 90s, chose to name himself after the movie character Bounty Hunter. Unfortunately for him, the name was already chosen by somebody else. He therefore had to settle for the name Bounty Killer. It was Bounty Killer who felt that Beenie Man was copying his style and confronted him on stage in the 1993 stage show named Sting, in what is still remembered as one of the best clashes in dancehall history. Beenie Man revealed that he wasn't particularly copying Bounty Killer's vocals, but he was just exploring new styles and seeing how he could stay relevant. He later on changed his style to a more singing style, and he says that this is partly what contributed to his later successes. He dominated the Jamaican charts from the mid to late 90s and helped bring dancehall music to another level. He made many moves to help him reach a more global and American audience, such as starting many collaborations with American artists, signing to Virgin Records, and he gained monikers such as the Gal Dem Sugar or the Doctor. He has often immortalized his nicknames in songs or albums. The accumulation of nicknames is not uncommon. As an artist grows in popularity and success, the audience often show love by giving more nicknames. This leads to the third type of nickname that I want to discuss, the ones based on your accomplishments. While the nickname Gal Dem Sugar came from Beenie Man's tendency to please female audiences, the Doctor was the name given to him as part of his work in the university. Again, this is also common in other musical cultures. The DRC musical legend Koffi Olomide acquired the nickname Kwadra Koraman because he won 4 koras, the African equivalent of a Grammy, in one night. Michael Jackson is still remembered as the king of pop because he literally dominated pop music, especially in the 80s. James Brown is named the Godfather of Soul for similar reasons, and Eazy-E earned the nickname Godfather of Rap for his financial and artistic influence on the gangster rap genre. The only issue is that at certain times, those types of nicknames cannot be shared. You can have many admirals, you can have millions of generals or doctors, but you can only have one king of a particular genre. A way of knowing if your title is unique can be by asking yourself if it rubs people the wrong way. The alias King of New York, for example, famously used by Biggie and inspired by the movie of the same title, has become a way of claiming to be the best rapper of at least the area. It is often disputed by rappers who originated from New York. When Tekashi 6ix9ine claimed it, there was controversy. When Kendrick Lamar claimed it as well, many took offense to it, and Kendrick wasn't even from New York. When Beenie Man released the song King of the Dancehall, many people were not happy. Beenie Man claims that this title was given to him by MTV, but him releasing the song was seen by a lot as self-proclamation. Yellowman, known as King Yellowman, wasn't too pleased, and Bounty Killer was not also pleased. Both were valid pretenders for the title. The King of the Dancehall debate in Jamaica is quite fascinating. Enthroning an artist is a tricky debate. Different genres have their criteria. In dancehall, the criteria are often the number of hits, the size of the local and international audience, how the artist has helped shape the music, and also the number of careers that the artist has helped launch. Ever since the release of the song in 2004, another serious pretender has been added to the debate, Vybz Kartel, also known as The Teacher. All of them have valid reason. King Yellowman had gotten his nickname King from his accomplishment in the early 80s, when dancehall was in an infant stage, and he made some of the first legendary, iconic dancehall sounds. Bounty Killer was not lucky enough to start as young as Beenie Man, but on top of his iconic songs, he is the one that should be credited for raising a generation of dancehall artists through his group Alliance, which included many artists, amongst whom there were Wayne Marshall, Mavado, Aidonia, and Vybz Kartel. In the case of Vybz Kartel, ever since appearing on the dancehall scene as a promising talent in the early 2000s, he had become one of the biggest dancehall artists at the moment of his incarceration. He also has helped launch a lot of careers, mostly new artists, through the Portmore Empire group. He is also arguably one of the most prolific songwriters the genre has ever seen, and he has continued releasing songs even in jail. Enthroning an artist is a tricky debate. Similar debates are held among sports fans, for example, to find who the greatest is. In sports, it's an easier conversation to have as there are more stats, but even stats cannot paint the whole picture. And once the stats are comparable, people start to pick an athlete based on things that cannot be quantified. They might pick an athlete because of his genius, while others might pick a different athlete for his strong mindset. Comparing celebrities from different eras is even more complicated, as the ones that came before have influenced the ones that came after. Vybz Kartel is a Beenie Man fan, and he wouldn't have been in the conversation if it wasn't for Bounty Killer, who helped discover him. Beenie Man bizarrely states that he sees his reggae legend, Sugar Minott, as the king of his dancehall. Firstly, because Sugar Minott affected his childhood. Secondly, because of the number of careers that Sugar Minott has helped launch. But that is exactly what fans use to prop up Bounty Killer over Beenie Man in the race to the title. However, Beenie touches upon a great point nonetheless. We tend to love an artist first for reasons deeper than album sales. Stats tend to be reason fans use to justify a deeper feeling they have about an artist. We can feel like enthroning an artist because he was the first one we heard when we discovered a new genre. We can also choose to enthrone an artist based on what our parents have loved, or simply because of the voice and the talent of the artist, or the melodies that the artist has come up with. We can also love an artist because of the amount of time his songs were on the radio, especially during the precious time of our childhood. Stats and numbers often come into play when quantifying the number of people who have been touched by the artist. The enthronement of an artist is essentially a popularity contest. you vote for the one who has touched you the most. And if you're the only one who has been touched, the artist will only be your king, but not the people's. However, if enough people have been touched during their childhood, then the artist has a shot. Now, I've touched upon many topics and I'd like to take some steps back. I went from unique custom-made nicknames to commonly used prefixes or suffixes to unshareable titles. How is everything connected, except for the fact that they're all titles? Well, the importance of a nickname is a testimony to the theatrical nature of certain musical culture. It is a place where low-status people, amongst others, can adopt a name that differentiates them, enlarges their status, and even allows them to compete for the throne. The artists literally make a name for themselves in order to figuratively make a name for themselves. Nicknames are the link between the fictional persona that artists adopt and their relative importance to the very real competitive space that is their musical genre. Food for thought. Anyway, the Associated Press observed that Beenie Man had become a name brand artist worldwide and called him king of the dancehall reggae scene. And in 2009, Beenie Man was crowned at the Reggae Sumfest. All of this legitimized the song he released in 2004. Now, was the release of the song just part of Beenie Man's trend to immortalize his newly adopted nicknames? Or was there a deliberate strategy? Let me explain. Although Beenie Man was ruling the dancehall scene in the late 90s, the early 2000s saw the rise of international dancehall artists such as Shaggy and Sean Paul. On top of that, the Alliance group, formed by Bounty Killer, was like a star-making machine. So to rephrase, was the release of the song just part of Beenie Man's trend to immortalize his newly adopted monikers? Or was it to solidify his status as a pretender for the throne, while he still couldn't make this case because of the number of people who grew up listening to his song in the 90s? Well, maybe it was a bit of both. Anyway, releasing the song has helped Beenie immortalize his pretendership. King of the Dancehall is now not only a throne, but it's also a song, and Beenie Man is the author. So even in decades, as long as there's a debate about who's the king of the dancehall, his name will forever be in the conversation.